Number 2 is not the goal. Number 1, lock and load. Hall of Fame, rock and roll. Call my name, Hoffa. Goals.
They had already been scoping me down, John Gotti Jr. and his crew. They were already eyeballing me. They knew what I was doing. And I'm in my red beret, my red sateen jacket.
This is 92, right?
Right, come out the same time, June 19th, 1992. Wow. They had tried to pick me up 9 different times because they knew I would hail a cab. On the 9th occasion, just like they were ready to pack it up for the day, who jumps in the back of that yellow cab? Curtis Sliwa. And to get the yellow cab, an Irish cab driver left the keys in the cab outside of a XXX rated theater near LaGuardia. It was prearranged. They took the cab to the Jamaica Salvage Yard, which was beyond the right field wall of Shea Stadium back then. Carmine Agnello, the son-in-law, had the biggest chop shop in North America. They sawed off the handles inside because little Nick Carrazzo tells Michael Ianotti, this guy's going to try to bolt out of that cab. I know this guy. What are you talking about? Shoot him in the head. Would you stop talking about shooting him in the head? When you shoot him, he's going to fight. He's going to try to get out of that cab. So they sawed the handles off and put him back on with crazy glue. So they got the perfect plan. It's a rolling coffin. Wow. So on the 9th day, at the end of the day, you have Michael Ianotti, who's under the dashboard in front. He's covered by a sheet. Hotter than hell because you got the Joey D'Angelo, the driver, who had been the protege for Sammy the Bull. He had to prove his loyalty to the Gambinos. He was from Bay Ridge. And he's driving the cab, and Ianotti is underneath, and he's saying, man, open up the freaking window. I'm dying here. Thank God they did. They opened up the window before I jumped in. So I jump in the back. I got the New York Post, the Daily News, 24-hour newsstand. I'm reading sports because that sports is pleasurable. Current events makes you nauseous. You know, it's like, oh, God, it gives you a migraine headache. Right. So I got it spread out. I'm reading. I say, Mac, Madison Square Garden. No problem, Curtis. I said, wow, I hit the lottery. Because back then, your typical cab driver is probably tending goats outside of Amman, Jordan a week before. Didn't know how to drive a cab. Didn't understand English. You basically had a guide down. So I'm figuring, wow, I hit the lottery.
Right.
A guy who speaks English, understands where we go, and he had the Irish walking cap on, and knew who I was. And I'm reading the sports, and he's driving. It's like driving Miss Daisy. We're going along. And instead of going left as we go up Avenue A, on about 13th Street, you're supposed to make your left. He goes right. I said, where you going, Mac? Don't you know your way to Madison Square Garden? I wasn't responding. Now he puts the pedal to the metal. And back then, man, this is before Rudy. There are potholes everywhere. It's like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, hydraulics, man. We're flying down the street. We're hitting and you hear the transmission grinding.
Right.
And I'm like, man, is this a nightmare? And then Ianotti comes up from the dashboard. He's got a mask on. He's got the Irish walking cap, and
he comes up from the dashboard.
He's underneath the dashboard in the front.
He was hiding in the front of the car.
Covered by a sheet.
That's why he said it was too hot. He had to roll down the windows and stuff.
And remember, there was no panel at that time. A lot of the cabs, you know, you saw the driver. Mm-hmm. He's got a 38 Special aimed at by 3-piece set, and that is not a knife, a spoon, and a fork. I'm like, this gotta be a dream. I'm gonna wake up any second right in a sweat. This can't be real.
Does he say anything?
No.
No, he just pops up.
One thing I know, when they got a gun to you, listen. Don't open your mouth. And right away, he said, take this, you son of a bitch. Bam! Except he shot in my head and missed me. The bullet went right through the back window. Now, not because I did a Bruce Lee move. Wah, wah, you know. No,
he just missed.
He missed. And then he started doing what he was supposed to do, air rape me. I mean, he shot me all over the place. So I dived to the left, and I'm going to open up the handle and I'm going to dive into moving traffic. I'm going to take my risk. So I pull the handle, and guess what? The handle comes off the door. And now the guy shoots me right through the legs. I'm bleeding out. When you've been shot, and these are hollow point bullets. I had no idea at the time, but they're shredding you inside. Yeah. So if you don't die, man, you're going to be impaired. And you can barely breathe. And you're like in a fetal position. I can barely breathe. And I realized, oh my God, I feel a strong gust of wind. It's from the window that he opened up in the front. I said, I got one shot before I bleed out. I got to dive back on the chair because I'm hiding behind the seat of the driver. And he's trying to put the last shot and do the headshot. And so I jump back on the seat and I jump right through over his shoulder and I'm stuck halfway out the cab. So I'm almost touching the ground. You can feel the pebbles up. I can see the tires there. And he's holding me by the belt. He's trying to pull me back in like a seesaw. And I'm desperately trying to hit the ground. And then I feel the barrel of the gun. He pops the last shot in my back and pushes me out. And they're like speeding down Avenue B towards the Williamsburg Bridge. I could barely see them. And right there on 6th and B was where the Hells Angels gin mill was, across from St. Bridget's. So there's a guy on a payphone, a Hells Angel, and he hears this pop, 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 pop. Ah! You know, they're screaming and yelling. Right. And he sees me jumping out, and I'm on the ground. And so he looks at me, he runs inside. All the Hells Angels come out and surround me. They knew me because they were on 3rd Street in the area. They didn't like me. But they turned me over and I'm bleeding out. And they said, man, Curtis, don't die on us here. Then they think a yellow cab is coming back. And they said, cab. And all these tough guys go running back into the bar. There's a cab coming right towards me. I'm lifting my head. I'm bleeding out. I'm in such pain. And it's this guy in another yellow cab, and he's got the CB radio. He stops, he almost hits me. I don't know, he's talking Farsi or do something, you know, Pakistani, whatever. And then the meat wagon shows up. Then the police show up, and they weren't my friends at the time. So they're already saying, wow, they got me in this body bag, and they're pumping air in it to suppress the bleeding because I'm bleeding out. And then they throw me on a gurney, and you could hear my blood sloshing up and down. And the cops, you know, they're saying, I guess he ain't Superman. Wow. That I remember.
Wow.
So they throw me in the meat wagon. We must have hit every pothole on the way back. We go into Bellevue. That's where they have their special team in case a cop gets shot. Lucky for me, Dr. Pachter and his crew. And I remember them putting the scalpel in me and cutting me open as they were putting, you know, the anesthesia on me. And that's it. I wake up 2 days later, touch and go. I wake up in the ICU with a sheet on me, tubes in every orifice of my body to get rid of the toxins or you're dead. And I wake up in a stupor and I look over and I see my nemesis, Ed Koch, the former mayor. I thought I died and went straight to hell. And he's smiling at me. Then I look over here, and it's Cardinal O'Connor. If you're Catholic, they used to call extreme unction vests, death right vestments. He would give me the last prayers if I was going, gone. Right. And then in the middle was Lisa. She had a smile. It was a long recovery. 6 months later, the head of detectives for the NYPD announced, after a thorough investigation, the allegations of Mr. Sliwa that this was members of the Gambino Crime Family, there was no organized crime involvement. We're closing the case. And I was devastated because I knew who it was. I knew who it was. And it lingered for 12 years. And then people were saying, they would call me up at night. I was on the radio. I was doing overnight radio. Well, it's a pretty good trick. You were driving the cab, you shot yourself, and you dived out of the cab. I said, 5 times with hollow point bullets? You think I was driving the cab and shot myself? How did the cab end up being, you know, abandoned by the Williamsburg Bridge? You know, people just playing with me.
That's crazy.
You think they paid the police?
The 9th precinct there was corrupt at that time. But to be honest, there just weren't enough police back then. So they picked the right time, the right place, and they almost killed me. 12 years later, I get a call. The FBI lets me know, and they hated me, the FBI, that they were arresting John Gotti Jr., Michael Ianotti, and D'Angelo for the kidnap and attempted murder of me. Multiple charges. Boom, 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 boom. I find out from the U.S. Attorney's Office that a snitch had told them years before what had happened, but they didn't want to give up the guy who was inside the Gambino crime family because they said, F. Sliwa, he's got a big mouth. You know, he probably deserved what he got for the way he was talking about the mob. They just didn't like me.
Right.
If they had arrested them then on this informant who was in the Gambino crime family, he would have had to testify, so he would have given up, his hidden identity, so to speak. But this was a big case. Gotti Jr. would have went to jail forever for the conspiracy, the RICO conspiracy to have me whacked on the orders of his father. So we finally go to trial, and Jeffrey Lichtman, very good attorney, but mean. Opening remarks to the jury. You will see Curtis Sliwa, he's going to testify in this case. My client, oh yeah, he was the underboss of the Gambino crime family. We're not going to argue that. His father made him the underboss. A father obeyed his son, John Gotti Sr. But Curtis Sliwa was not dead. And the window of opportunity to arrest my client and charge him with kidnapping and attempted murder disappears because Curtis is alive and well. They had 5 years to get him.
So it was
And the
outside
door
the
closed.
statute of limitation.
Statute of limitation. 4 trials we went through. Wow. The first trial, the jury came back 11-1 to convict. You get a chance to talk to the jurors afterwards if they want to talk to you. And the media, they want to talk to me. So they said, well, you can talk to the jurors. So I say, well, who is the holdout? Woman named Mabel, African-American from the Bronx. I go in and I sit with her. I said, Mabel, could you tell me why you voted not to convict John Gotti Jr.? She goes, oh, Curtis, I love you. I didn't live far from you there. You were living on University Avenue and West Fordham. I lived in Kingsbridge. I loved what you and your guys and gals did. I said, well, why didn't you vote in the affirmative? I don't trust anything the government says. They do a voir dire to try to get jurors. They went to many jurors. Did you ever listen to Curtis on the radio? I remember I was on radio now 35 years, so the people had to be excluded. You know anything about this guy? Most people did. Took them forever to get a jury. But they never determined, they never asked the question, do you trust the federal government? She would have answered, no, I don't trust the federal government.
Wow.
So she was the holdout. Then they had a second jury, 8-4 to convict. Then a third jury, 6-6. Then they went a fourth trial. Gotti Jr. escaped on technicalities. Michael Ianotti got 20 years for shooting me multiple times. Judge Shira Shinlin put him away. And D'Angelo had testified. He became a cooperating witness. So his story of what happened in that cab matched my story. But John Gotti Jr. now lives in Oyster Bay, Long Island, and pleads poverty. He has all these properties that his father had stolen from other people and collects the rent. Mm-hmm. And that's how he lives.
Wow.
So every time I hear the name John Gotti Jr., I said, man, you should have been doing triple life without parole. Wow. Because I got messed up physically from that.
Well, how did you react to it? What was the tension between you and Lisa? How did the Angels feel about it? Did they want to go out and get street justice? What was going on?
No, it was Gotti, organized crime, and the Gambinos. At that time, remember, they were the biggest of the big. I had guardian angels resigning, not because they wanted to, but their moms and dads said, you don't want to be anywhere near Curtis. They're going to finish the job. When he gets out of hospital, they will finish the job because this guy doesn't stop. I kept talking even when I was in the hospital.
Even when you was in the hospital,
what
were you saying?
I tell him who did it. Right. The cops are corrupt. The 9th Precinct. I didn't know the specifics of who did it, but I said it's the Gottis and Gambinos. How do you know? How do you know? I grew up with these guys. This is their methods of operation. I said, come on.
Did it make you paranoid?
No, I was never paranoid. I never had armed security. Never, even afterwards when I recovered. I have armed security now.
Yes.
After the billionaires bribed me with $10 million to drop out of the mayoral race, and I said no.
So you was more afraid of the billionaires than you were the Gambinos.
This Hoffa, trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapping.